Hey folks, Nick here from Another BookTube channel, and today I'll be going through my May reading wrap-up. I did not do many videos this month. I did one video. I was just feeling kind of lazy, and I think that kind of transferred over into my reading as well. I read a lot of short books. I started the month with a really long book, and it just kind of burned me out, so I did a lot of little stuff for the remainder. Nevertheless, I did get through I think 17 total things with one DNF that took me like a week, with a mix of it being comics and novels. I will start with the DNF, and this was a bummer. Ramsey Campbell's The Face That Must Die. This is a bummer because this was my first Ramsey Campbell. I've heard the name. I think he was pretty popular in maybe the 70s or 80s, a popular horror writer. This was my first attempt at him, and I just did not really get along with his writing style at all. This was one of those books where it's like from the perspective of a serial killer, of a killer who's, that's his mind, and you see his ridiculous rationale and how he justifies doing what he does. I've read some books like this that some of them I've enjoyed, like Zombie by Joyce Carol Oates, which was really disturbing. This one wasn't disturbing. It also wasn't too gripping either. I just never really connected with this one, and Campbell's writing never really did anything to impress me. So that was kind of a bummer. But yeah, I DNF'd it after I think it was 5 days I took on it, and I only got about 200 pages in, and yeah, disappointing. All right, I'm doing all of these in the order of least enjoyed to most enjoyed. So now, the book that I enjoyed the least from this month, but still did enjoy. I would say there's not a single thing I read this month that I didn't enjoy at least a little bit. I would recommend most of these books to certain audiences at the very least. But nevertheless, least enjoyed was The Fungus by Harry Adam Knight. This one is a horror novel about a fungus that goes awry. Scientists are working on a way to get mushrooms to grow at a rapid pace to solve the world hunger crisis, but the catalyst that they're using gets out of the lab, and now every single fungus in London is growing at an incredibly rapid rate. It's eating people. It's taking people over. Soon, London is lost. The book is about the few people who are, the army has recruited them to go into the contamination zone to try to find the notes of the scientist who started this mess, to try to find a way to reverse it. There's some fun bits in it for sure. Great ways for different mushrooms to kill and disfigure and horribly maim all of these people. It's one of those, it's kind of like, I guess it's like one of those horror books that's like Slugs, where the bulk of it is just there's vignettes of just people who are getting attacked by the thing, and then there's the narrative bits that drive the plot forward. This one is really front loads all of the really disgusting stuff, and then it mostly settles into a pretty straightforward narrative. I think it could have used a little bit more variety to keep things kind of interesting. But it was fine. I wouldn't say I really loved it, but it was a fun kind of gross horror book. And yeah, if you're into that kind of thing, go for it. Okay, next up is Night Drive by Richard Sala. Richard Sala is a cartoonist that I love. Night Drive is his first published book. This was published 40 years ago. This is a reissue. It just released, I think, a week or two ago. It's been out of print for 40 years. The initial run was only 500 copies, and good luck finding them. I think I saw some on eBay for $800 or something. This is $20. Nice hardcover. It's got some bonus material in here. It's got got some words from Daniel Clowes, who was Richard Sala's best friend. And this is a pretty neat thing to have if you are a diehard Sala fan like I am. As for the content, it's mentioned in the introduction from another of Sala's friends that he himself didn't love this. Like as time moved on and he entered like a fine art space and he refined his craft quite a bit, this is pretty amateurish. Not juvenile. It's still really good. There's interesting things in here. It's a lot of really short stories that are very esoteric and vague, but nothing that you could really sink your teeth into. At least not in me. But you could see the beginnings of what he does later. His art is still wonderful as well. Next is The Witnesses Are Gone by Joel Lane. I was really looking forward to this one. Very short novella. I think it was only 80 pages. Criminale is really high on this book. It's been on my list for a while. I love a cursed film book. Love a book about a cursed film. Super fun. Flicker by Theodore Roshak is absolutely incredible. Horror movie by Paul Tremblay was another recent one that was great. This one is the classic setup. Guy discovers VHS tape in the attic. It is a movie he's never seen before. He can't really find consistent information about it anywhere else. A lot of people don't believe it exists. It consumes his mind. Blah 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 blah. I thought this was good. My problem with it is that I recently, at the end of last year, read Throat Sprockets by Tim Lucas, and I also mentioned Flicker by Theodore Roshak. And I think that both of those books do what this book is trying to do, but much better. This is fine. If this is maybe your first cursed film book, I think it's a good introduction. I think it's well written. There's one really great setup and payoff that is kind of what makes the whole book work for me. If it didn't have that, I would probably be a little even less enthusiastic about it. But as for obsessiveness about a cursed film, Flicker just did it so much better. Throat Sprockets just did it so much more interesting. So just kind of bad luck on the timing for this one, I think. Next up, I've got Captain Stern Running Out of Time by Bernie Wrightson. Captain Stern is a character that Bernie Wrightson created for Heavy Metal magazine. This is, as far as I know, the only true standalone miniseries featuring the character. This is written and drawn by Bernie Wrightson. Totally done by him. Inking is done by Shepard Hendricks, I think the name is. But the inks are pretty close, I think, to what Bernie would have wanted. So you could kind of just say that this is all Bernie Wrightson. This was fun. It's not what you expect from Bernie Wrightson, the king of horror. Macabre imagery is really his thing. This is a science fiction story. Captain Stern is a bit of a rapscallion, a rogue, a con man, and he is wanted across the galaxy, and he finds himself embroiled in a heist trying to steal $1 bajillion from the richest man in the world, who Fillmore Coffers. Every name in the comic is a pun like that. There's also there's a Justine Time and her brother Nico Time in the nick of time. So stuff like that. They pull a heist on this guy, and he owns Cosmic Cola, which is not Coca-Cola, but very wealthy bajillionaire. And they end up using time travel to steal his money from him. There's also going on a zombie outbreak. The zombies are really just passive and just kind of walking around, and nobody's in danger. But the world is just now flooded with dead people who are just there. So you get Wrightson getting to draw a little bit of his macabre stuff, but for the most part, it's science fiction stuff, which is good. It looks great. There's a lot of fun. He gets to draw a lot of dinosaurs. Wrightson really loved drawing dinosaurs. I think I've seen quite a bit of it of his art out there with dinosaur content. So fun for him to be able to do something a little bit different, but just not, it's not what I go to Wrightson for, but still pretty neat to just see a series completely done by him. I, Zombie Volume 1, Dead to the World. This is with art by Mike Allred, and who wrote this? Chris Roberson. You might be familiar with the CW show I, Zombie from a few years back. Never watched an episode of that. From what I've heard, it's only very tangentially related to the comic book. Um, it is this comic follows Gwen Dillon, who is a zombie. She works as a grave digger, and the conceit of her zombiehood in this world is that she has to eat one human brain a month, and that's what prevents her from turning into like the Shamley kind of zombie. She is otherwise a normal functioning member of society. Um, but the thing is, when she eats the brain, she gets the memories of the person that she ate the brain of. So she eats the brain of a guy who was murdered, and so she investigates his murder. This was a lot of fun. Mike Allred's art is incredible, but the story I thought was a little confusing. I don't quite know what happened at the end. She meets another character who's kind of an immortal, and they start to talk about the nature of their like revenancy, and it was just kind of like a little vague. I've got the rest of the comics up next. I got the whole series, so I'll see if it's explained more. But as it stands, I found it a little bit confusing. But Mike Allred's art, like that pop art style, beautiful. Next up is Bone Volume 6, Old Man's Cave by Jeff Smith. The events of the Bone series are culminating towards a head. There's only 9 books in the series. So book 6, this is we finally get a showdown with the Hooded One who's working for the Lord of the Locusts. And this one feels a little bit like it's preparing us for the next one. And I did read Volume 7 this month. It'll show up later. I think this is more of a setup book. And we're going to get next is like the really like meaty stuff, the stuff that really is going to wow me. Next, we got a lot of comics in a row. I do apologize, but it's just easier to read comics. I read more of them in a month. The Question, Volume 1, Love and Violence, written by Dennis O'Neil with art by Dennis Cowan and Rick Magyar. I've been slowly collecting the entire run of this Question series. I finally completed it a few months ago, so now I'm finally getting to read it all. This was a really fun first volume. The Question is a character that was created by Steve Ditko, and when he was working at Charleston Comics, DC acquired Charleston's heroes like The Question, like Peacemaker, in the 80s. So in this one, they give him a little bit of an attitude makeover because Steve Ditko was an objectivist. He really liked Ayn Rand, and he saw things as very black and white, like you are either good or you are evil, and there's no in between, and there's no gray area. And he created The Question, which Alan Moore used The Question as the basis for Rorschach in Watchmen. So that might give you a better idea of the type of character The Question began as. Like crazy kind of right-wing nutso. In this one, he starts that way, and he's a real son of a bitch. And it's like, wow, I don't remember him being like this, like The Question being this aggressive in the later stuff that I've read. But he undergoes like he receives training from Richard Dragon, Kung Fu Fighter, and Lady Shiva, and he discovers like meditation, and he calms down quite a bit. And so he has a little bit of an arc in this first volume, which makes him a more likable character, which is really a smart move because he's in the first issue, he's really kind of insufferable. And Dennis Cowan's art, I think, is lovely. I love his action. I love kind of, it's almost like dirty and gritty feeling. This was 1986. This was when DC Comics was making that turn with Watchmen, with The Dark Knight Returns. And things were shifting in that kind of darker direction. And I think this is going to fit really nicely in with the rest of those things. So I enjoyed that. I'm really looking forward to the rest of the series. One more comic, then I'll get to a novel or a book. Pyongyang by Guy Delisle. I like Guy Delisle. I like this guy. No pun intended. This is Guy Delisle spent a few months in Pyongyang, North Korea, back in the early 2000s, working in animation. And this is just a graphic novel about his day-to-day life there, just like what he observed. It's not a deep history of North Korea or anything like that. It's nothing extraneous. It's literally just his experience, being escorted around the city by, the guide that he's mandated to have, and his encounters with all of the little rules that must be followed. And you better do it with a smile on your face, Really interesting book. Very interesting. Highly recommend this one. Everything from this point out, I really highly recommend, by the way. And I've got a lot left to talk about. But yeah, this was super fun. I learned a lot about North Korea. I didn't like any of it, but really solid. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Stephen King's Skeleton Crew. This is a short story collection with a good amount of hits and definitely a good amount of misses as well. As you can tell from the cover, this is the collection that has the monkey in it. The monkey was recently adapted into a film by Oz Perkins. It's a really fun movie. I recommend that a lot. If you like the Final Destination movies, which I don't, but if you like those kind of movies where just like it's about getting to the point where somebody just dies in a really goofy, like horrific way, then I recommend it. It was a lot of fun. It was the perfect blend of like comedy and horror to me. The short story also pretty good. I liked the way that Oz Perkins adapted it. I think a bit more. He fleshed it out quite a bit. This has other stories in it. Like it starts with The Mist. The novella opens this one. That's another one where I think the movie kind of like made it work a little bit better. Especially the main character. I mean, the main character, I didn't really like him in this, and I think he was a lot more likable in the movie. This also features The Raft, which, if you've seen the Creepshow movies, The Raft, Creepshow 2 is the worst movie of the two, but The Raft from Creepshow 2 is the best segment from either of the Creepshow movies. Full stop. I'll die on that hill. The Raft is great, and the story is really good too. So a lot of fun stuff in there. Some stuff that doesn't work as well, but what can you do? Next up, Bone, Volume 7, Ghost Circles. Things are just getting really heated in the Bone fantasy world. This was terrific. I'm just loving Jeff Smith's style. His pacing is impeccable. I cannot believe an animated show or movie about Bone has not come out yet. I know they've been trying to do it for years. It is unbelievable to me that they haven't succeeded. Because this reads like animation panels. Like it's so smooth. I feel like I'm reading something I feel like I'm watching it sometimes. It's just so effortless and perfect. God, it's such great fantasy too. I'm really loving Bone. Next up, I've got George Sprott by Seth. Earlier this year, I read Clyde Fans by Seth, and that was phenomenal. And I still don't think that's been topped for me this year. This is a similar vibe because it is another one where it's the life story of a guy, and it's just the very honest depiction of him from the narrator, but also from other characters that knew him throughout his life. And they talk about the various ways that he affected them, either positively or more usually negatively. George Sprott is a kind of pompous guy, but he did still have quite a few people that looked up to him and respected him. He had his own like TV series where he talked about like the Arctic and expeditions to there, and he would show documentary footage, like a cable access type of show. So this just goes through his life and his experience as a very selfish person, as someone of a moderate amount of fame, and it continues to go back to the day where he dies. Like that, it keeps returning to that, and we see that kind of almost minute by minute until we culminate there. But we're always going back in time as well to give his life a little bit of context and flavor. Really beautiful, really bittersweet. The cartooning is exceptional as always when it comes to Seth. So this is great. If Clyde Fans is too thick for you, if you don't want to commit to maybe like a 500-page comic, George Sprott is a good alternative. Gives you the same flavor, but much quicker experience. Although honestly, this one reads really quickly too. So like, even though it's really thick, read Collide fans. Read Collide. It's so good. It's so good. I promise you. All right, what do I got next? I've got Rest Stop by Nat Cassidy. Mary, the book Mary by Nat Cassidy was, I think, my second favorite book of 2023. I loved it. And this is my second book by Cassidy that I'm reading. It was more novella length. And it was just a lot of fun, like really over the top, gory. It's about this guy who stops in at a rest stop on his way to, was he visiting his like sick grandma or something? But like not sweetly. He didn't like his grandma. And he stops in at the rest stop, and while he's in the bathroom, he gets locked in there, and things just start going like terribly wrong. And you're not sure at first if it's like a supernatural thing or like what's going on. When he, there's blood everywhere, there's bugs everywhere, and it's just nasty. There's a lot of stuff in this book that just makes you go, and it's a lot of fun. And just for it being so fun, I recommend it, especially if you're a fan of more extreme horror. This is probably not the people that like extreme horror probably won't think this is extreme enough. But if you like some blood and guts type of stuff, it was great. It was a lot of fun. Some humor in there. Just neat. Just good time. Mischief by Ed McBain of the 87th Precinct series. I was really having a great time with this one. This is another Deaf Man book. The Deaf Man returns, but there's so much more else to this book. The Deaf Man is planning some kind of big heist revolving around a concert in the park. And as he usually does, he's sending clues to the detectives of the 87th Precinct through the mail to try to, give them hints on what he's going to do, but also put them on the wrong track. There's also a storyline in here about old people who are with dementia, who are basically being like kidnapped by somebody and just being left in random places. And they don't remember, and like all of their like tags and stuff are being removed from their clothing, so they barely remember their own names. They remember nothing else about themselves. So it's like, who are these old people? Where'd they come from? Who's kidnapping them and all that? There's also a serial killer going around killing graffiti artists. So those are the three main storylines in here. And there's even more in here. This is a very full book. There's a lot of stuff in here. And it's really great. Ed McBain is so freaking good at balancing different storylines. This is very effortlessly readable, highly enjoyable. The one thing I would say negatively is the old person storyline. I don't really quite get it. Like, I don't get the ending of it. I don't quite understand what happened. I don't know. I don't want to spoil anything, but if you've read that one, I don't know. Maybe explain to me why it was being done, because I didn't quite get it from my own reading. Everything else though, loved it. Next up, this is Rosemary's Baby by Ira Levin. Hold on. I have the original cover here. So I did a rebinding of this. This was an old Dell paperback edition. This was printed before the movie came out, because it says on the back, soon to be a major motion picture. I bought this. It was completely falling apart, so I didn't, ruin a wonderful piece of history. The cover was destroyed, so I took it upon myself to fix it up. I painted the edges of the pages red. Doesn't that look nice? I'm still waiting to get the dust jacket back. I designed a dust jacket for it that I think should be really nice as well. But the book, Rosemary's Baby, what's it about? Do you not know? It's one of the most famous horror movies ever. Rosemary and her husband move into a new building. The neighbors take too much of an interest in her fertility. Perhaps they are witches. Perhaps they are trying to do something with the devil. I mean, it's Rosemary's Baby. How do you not know it at this point? The movie's exceptional. The book is also exceptional. I really had a great time with it. Even though I knew everything that was going to happen, I still found it suspenseful. I still found it interesting. Ira Levin creates a very suspenseful experience. Great writer. I loved it. It was great. A non-horror book. I read a lot of horror this month, but this is not a horror book. This was the longest book I read, and this was the one that burned me out for the rest of the month. Knife of Dreams by Robert Jordan, book 11 of the Wheel of Time. I took a little break from Wheel of Time after December. This is my first Wheel of Time book that I read this year. I'm trying to finish the series again. This is Robert Jordan's final book before he passed away, and it's his return to form. The slog ending in Crossroads of Twilight. God, it was really like, at worst, boring, and at best, fine. But this is fantastic. This Knife of Dreams is exactly why you fall in love with Wheel of Time in the first place. Something that it really surprised me and impressed me. The first time I read this book a few years ago, Egwene's storyline really stood out to me. Like this, I remembered this as the book where Egwene really came into her own and became a character that I fell in love with. And I remembered it as her being throughout this book. She has one chapter in this entire book. It's a long chapter, but it's just one chapter. And yet with that one chapter, she does so much. Like, she's great. She's such a good character, and you miss it. If you're not paying attention, you just miss it. And she's just fantastic. That's the best novel that I read this month. These final two are graphic novels, and both are outstanding. The first is a memoir, The Loneliness of the Long-Distance Cartoonist by Adrian Tomina. This was a tough read at times because of how cringy and awkward the experiences in here are. This is basically a memoir of awkwardness. This is all throughout Tomina's life, starting out as a young cartoonist up to being a successful one with a family, and the vignettes from his life that he remembers in which he behaved awkwardly, or things were just like, oh God, that could have gone way better. Like there's one thing in here which was so funny. It's so embarrassing. He was getting interviewed by this girl, and kind of liked her a little bit, and so they're at a cafe, and he orders a bunch of dairy products, and not realizing that he was lactose intolerant. It was sudden onset lactose intolerance, which I myself had in my life. I was not always lactose intolerant. It just happened one day. So he invites her to like go for a walk after the interview, and he starts feeling the rumblings. And he says, "You know what? My apartment's like right here. Do you mind if we stop in really quickly?" And so they go back to his apartment. He leaves her in the living room, and like he's in the bathroom through this very thin door, and he just has the worst diarrhea for like 30 minutes, and it's like noisy and it's unpleasant. And he's just thinking like, oh God, does she know what's going on in here? Do you think she knows? And he finally comes out of the bathroom, and she's just like sitting there terrified and excuses herself immediately. Like she was just waiting for him to come out to be like, okay, this was really great, bye, and then she'd leave. Oh my God, stuff like that. Really awkward encounters. But fantastic. Like even if you are not a cartoonist, which most of us are not, there's so much in here that is incredibly relatable, just because of we've all been in situations that could have gone a lot better. So I recommend this to literally everybody. I think you, the person watching this, would love this and relate to it in some way. So it's great. It could probably be my top book of the month. Oh, but man, this next one here, I freaking love this. This is The Score, adapted by Darwin Cook, originally written by Richard Stark. This is Darwin Cook adapted 4 of Richard Stark's Parker novels. This is the 3rd one. And it's so cool. Oh my God. Darwin Cook's artwork, first of all, is just so sensational. He has such a pleasing line. Everything about his art is just enjoyable to look at. You could sit and look at these images for, God, just forever. Like the way that he constructs a face, everybody looks different. You know, he uses very simple lines, but every character looks different. There's no way you're going to confuse them for each other. This is the story of a heist of basically an entire town. There's a small town, it's like a small mining community that's completely cut off. There's one way in, one way out. And they're going to, he and a gang of like 20 guys, they're going to steal the payroll. I say he, Parker, the main character, Parker. They're going to steal the payroll from the town. And of course, you know, things don't go exactly to plan, but oh my God, it's hard boiled. This is my favorite book, like, of Parker himself. The previous books, The Outfit and The Hunter, like he's great in them, but you know, kind of one note ish. This one, there's just something about this one, the way he's written here. I think he's a little bit more fleshed out, a little bit more enjoyable of a character. And God, I loved it. I loved it so much. If you are a fan of hard-boiled type of novels, crime thrillers, stuff like that, whether you've read the Parker novels or not, this is for you. Absolutely. I've only read one Parker novel. I have not read the novel of this one. I've only read the graphic novel, and I feel like I got a full meal. It's perfect. Darwin Cook was such an exceptional talent. It's really a shame that he died before he could do more. But yeah, there we go. That's it. That's the stack for May. Let me know if you've read any of these books and your thoughts on them in the comments below. Let me also know what you read in the month and your favorites or least favorites. Thank you very much for spending some time with me today. But now it's time to get back to reading.